Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is running into critical support while the price is potentially repeating history again in the short term, while Ethereum is still forming this pattern that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before getting into the Bitcoin charts today, we need to talk about the Bitcoin news today because on Friday, we saw another decent sized net outflow from the spot Bitcoin ETFs. This time around, it was a net outflow of just over $100 million, leaving the spot Bitcoin ETFs just on Friday. And so once again, as I've said recently here on the channel, when we're seeing these net outflows from the spot Bitcoin ETFs, that's essentially selling pressure. So expect some more bearish price action in the short term, and it's unlikely we're going to see a lot of bullish price action while we're seeing these net outflows. But of course, these net outflows won't last forever, but at least as of right now, while they are happening, we have been a little bit more bearish as of recent. And so overall, nothing has really changed over the last one day in the Bitcoin ETFs. We're still seeing those net outflows, as I've been saying, over the last 1 to 2 weeks. But with that being said, in case you're new to all of this, the Bitcoin ETFs actually trade on the stock market, and the US stock market's closed over the weekend, which means there's no inflows or outflows for the Bitcoin ETFs over the weekend. And with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, and as of right now, the Bollinger Bands here on the 4-day Bitcoin chart are still squeezing together, basically telling us that we're still building up to a massive volatile move coming sometime soon in the price of Bitcoin. Historically speaking, this signal has usually told us that the volatile move is happening within the next few weeks, within the next 2 to 3 weeks or so. But as we can see right here, this signal has been building for around 1 month or so, which basically means an extremely volatile move is likely coming when we eventually see the expansion of the Bollinger Bands with an increase or a spike in the Bollinger Bands width indicator, which at least for now has not yet started. And usually those volatile moves play out over around a week to a couple of weeks. And we're talking about 20 to 30% moves or so on average based on what we've seen here in the past. And so overall, not much has really changed on the 4-day time frame over the last 1 day for the price of Bitcoin. And so if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, as I said in my last video, we're still seeing that continued bullish movement in the DXY, which is bearish for Bitcoin. Because as we can see here, time and time again, when the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, that is almost always bearish for Bitcoin and crypto. And vice versa, when the DXY is bearish, that is almost always bullish for Bitcoin and crypto. And so at least for now, and once again, as I've been saying basically every day over the last 1 to 2 weeks, while the DXY is trending in the bullish direction, expect more bearish price action for Bitcoin, at least in terms of the short-term trends here on the daily time frame. And staying on the daily time frame, taking a look at this daily Bitcoin chart, and what we are seeing right now is the price actually running into important support, sitting in between around 63,000 to 64,000. And at least as of right now, we have found some support. We have seen a bit of a bounce from that area. And so at least in the imminent short term, this is a good sign that Bitcoin is, at least for now, holding that area as support. So if that's the case, if we see a further bounce here, the price could potentially just continue chopping around sideways within this sideways price range, as I've said over the last few days here, which has been playing out as expected. And this sideways price range, in case you're new to the channel, is sitting in between that area of support that I just mentioned and this area of resistance, which is sitting in between 67,000 to 68,000 approximately. And these support and resistance zones are based on previous price action and also the volume profile indicator, showing a lot of traded volume around those areas, which basically means the price usually stops and stays around those areas when we run into those areas. Whereas when we see a gap in the volume profile indicator, oftentimes in those gaps in the volume profile indicator, we see very quick movements in the price of Bitcoin, like what we saw just here, for example, or just here, for example. Quick movements, the price doesn't tend to stay in these gaps in the volume profile indicator very long, whereas we usually spend a lot more time struggling around where we have a lot of previously traded volume. And so overall, once again, the shorter term trend on the daily chart here is technically still more bearish than bullish, as I've been saying for a while now on the channel. But at least for now, we could still be within this sideways price range during the short term bearish trend. And like I said in my last few videos, if we break below around 63,000, our next important support is sitting at around 60 to 61,000. And below that, we have more support at 58,000 and 56,000 based on previous lows in the price of Bitcoin. But if we're zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, what we can now see is a new bullish divergence, which is just recently confirmed because we have just seen a new lower low confirm in the price of Bitcoin in the candle closes here, while a new higher low has just confirmed in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And this is very interesting because history is repeating right now. We are seeing something very similar to what we saw pretty much exactly 1 week ago. Obviously, just around a week ago, we saw a very similar bullish divergence confirm here on the 4-hour time frame. And that also confirmed just before the weekend as we're heading into the previous weekend, just like what we're seeing right now, because these areas mapped out on the chart are the weekends. And as I've been saying here on this channel, usually over the weekends, on the Saturdays and the Sundays, we see much lower volatility. As we can clearly see on the chart, we tend to see relatively mild price action in the price of Bitcoin over the weekends. And then as we enter into the new week on the weekdays, that is usually where we see the majority of the volatility. And so simply based on what has been playing out time and time again over this weekend, over the next 1 to 2 days or so, I expect very little volatility. We could see very, very slight moves up or down, but ultimately I don't necessarily expect a major move up or down over the weekend, mostly sideways price action, basically a lot less volatility just over the weekend, especially now that this bullish divergence is confirmed. And usually a bullish divergence means we're due to see less bearish momentum just for the next couple of days here on the 4-hour time frame. And because we're technically within a short-term bearish trend, but we're now due to see less bearish momentum over the next couple of days, usually that plays out in the form of either some choppy sideways price action, which over the weekend should not necessarily be large choppy sideways price action, relatively mild price action, if not a slight bullish relief. Basically, a repeat of what we saw last weekend is what I mostly expect over the next 1 to 2 days. But once again, that's just the imminent short term, just for the next 1 to 2 days. And then potentially next week sometime, we could see more volatility return and possibly a continuation of that short term bearish trend, considering at least as of right now, we have not yet confirmed any strong bullish reversal here in the price of Bitcoin. And if you want to actually trade these moves in Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take those sort of trades over on Bybit. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit down below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account and deposit on that account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it will take you to this page right here where you can claim an exclusive 500 USDT airdrop position. And in order to basically claim this free money, all you have to do is simply make a Bybit account using the link down below this video, make a deposit, and claim the free airdrop. And so if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out if you want to claim these extra bonuses, or if you're preparing to take the next trade, you might as well get set up ready to go over here if you want to claim your extra bonuses right here. And this 500 USDT position airdrop, by the way, is available for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and a bunch of other cryptos you can claim this in. Or for any of the degens out there, there's also a 200 USDT position airdrop for a bunch of meme coins right here, which I'll also leave a link to down below this video. In fact, the second link below this video will take you to this page right here, and the first link below this video will take you to the 500 USDT airdrop position. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex down below this video as an alternative crypto exchange. And with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and we can still see a massive amount of liquidity at around 67.3K and 63,000. And obviously, this is happening just after we took out that area of liquidity I talked about in my last video, just underneath 64,000. And so if we're looking at what has happened in the past right here, usually the price likes to take out a lot of these areas of liquidity, like what we saw just here at 66,000. We took out that liquidity and then reversed, or we saw this liquidity get taken out right here just yesterday at around 64,000. And so considering that the liquidity at around 63,000 is closer to the current price than 67,000, it is more likely that we could take out that liquidity first before eventually taking out that higher liquidity. And of course, we also have to remember that we're still technically within more of a short-term bearish trend here on the daily chart. But once again, just for the next 1 to 2 days over the weekend, I expect very similar price action to what we saw last weekend as the most likely scenario just over the next 1 to 2 days. And with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the daily time frame, and right now Ethereum is still bouncing right at this 38.2% Fibonacci level of support, which is sitting at around 3480 give or take, and we also have this retracement level acting as support at around 3350. And so ultimately, we're playing out a lot of choppy sideways price action in the short term, which is exactly what I've been saying over the last half a week to nearly 1 week now. I've been saying expect a lot of choppy sideways price action in the short term, which so far is playing out as expected. But ultimately, this is occurring within a short-term bearish trend. So for all we know, this could just be a bit of a break or pause from that bearish trend before potentially continuing later on. That is a possibility. But just in the meantime, and especially over the weekend, I do continue to expect this relatively neutral price action just in the imminent short term here. And part of the reason as to why we're playing out some choppy sideways price action, especially as of recent, is due to this bullish divergence here on the 12-hour time frame, which at least as of right now is still active, but we still have a lot of resistance in between 3.6k to 3650 based on this Fibonacci area of resistance, the golden pocket. And so due to the fact that a bullish divergence is trying to play out, but we're also getting rejections from resistance, ultimately that is causing relatively neutral price action or choppy sideways price action just in the short term, which I continue to expect at least for the weekend. And while this price action is playing out as expected, we're continuing to form this pattern right here on the 8-hour time frame, which is a bit of a falling wedge pattern because we do have a slightly descending line of support and clearly a descending line of resistance. And of course, over the last 1 day, I have updated that line of resistance to factor in that very small fake out that we saw just the other day. But obviously, I was also saying the other day that we still need a breakout above 3650, which never actually happened. So 3650 is still the important level of resistance to pay attention to. And if we're taking a look at this descending line of resistance, that is also sitting at around 3590. So we have that resistance and a lot more resistance at around 3650. And this line of support is currently sitting at around 3410 to 3420, so just above 3.4k. And we also have a visible bullish divergence also playing out here on the 8-hour time frame, similar to this 12-hour time frame. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 8-hour time frame, technically speaking, we still have a bullish divergence here because at least as of right now, we're still seeing lower lows in the price in the candle closes, while the RSI has not yet broken this higher low structure, at least for now, in the 8-hour Solana RSI. And we're also still holding just above that critical area of support, sitting in between 120 to 128. So that is still the support to pay attention to, which so far we have seen a couple of pretty much perfect bounces from. And the resistance to pay attention to in the short term is this previous area of support now becoming new resistance in between 140 to 144. And we also have a lot more resistance at around $160. And once again, as I've been saying over and over again here on the channel, the price is clearly trending more bearish than bullish. I've basically flipped bearish in the short term ever since we broke below 160. That was the point where I flipped much more bearish, at least in the short term for Solana. And ever since then, we've seen more bearish price action as expected. But of course, during the short-term bearish trend, we can see very small bounces back to the upside or choppy sideways price action during the bearish trend. So at least for now, we could see a bit of choppy sideways price action just over the weekend, considering I said earlier that is a likely scenario for Bitcoin and Ethereum over the weekend based on reduced volatility being a normal thing over the weekend. And usually a lot of the crypto market like Solana and other altcoins kind of follow along with what Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing. And also due to the fact that we still have this bullish divergence and the price is still holding above this area of support, due to all of those reasons, at least over the weekend, we're likely going to see a little bit of a break from that bearish trend, mostly in the form of some choppy sideways price action over the next 1 to 2 days or so. But ultimately, in terms of the short-term trend and momentum for Solana, I would only start flipping more bullish again if we, first of all, at the very least, see a breakout back above around 144 and ideally back above 160 in order to be much more confident that we're actually reversing back into the bullish direction for the short-term trend and momentum. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.